Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Had a little problem on the lake the other day. And I want to tell you about this. This is Garmin Force. It's a 24-36 volt trolling motor. I've always run it on 24 volts. Never been a problem. Never had a serious issue. Then I decided to switch to the 36 volts. And it was very, very windy that day. Now, this is a good thing, and it's also a bad thing. Well, when I was on the lake, I was running at about half speed. When I say it was bad winds, white capping, handled it just fine. But I had it on spot lock for very, very, very long periods of time where it was at 50%. And we're talking about 30, 40 minutes as we were fishing some flats and edges of flats. And it shut off, and it would not turn back on. Well, it was getting to the point we were about ready to go home anyway, so we went on to the house, got home, and checked the voltage of each battery, and it would be 36 volts, but as soon as it would hook to the trolling, when you would get to the trolling motor, it would not show that. And then, so I called the Garmin hotline. Never experienced this problem before. So he got me to, on the ionic batteries, when you hook the battery charger up, if the batteries have been tripped, they have an internal circuit breaker that if they get too hot or they get drawn too far down, it will trip the batteries out. You can reset them one of two ways. You can hook the battery charger to them, and then it will reset them and they'll go back to working. Or you can take a pair of jumper cables, hook it to a good battery, and then it'll awaken the battery. Essentially, they go into sleep mode. Well, what we found out was I've always run on 24 volts, so no matter what, it didn't ever overload the wiring. Well, there's where the problem started. When I switched to 36 volt and it was running that higher voltage and higher amperage through the batteries, through the cables, and running it at high speed for a very, very long time, the wiring got hot. Therefore, it kicked the batteries out on the lake. I didn't know that. I didn't know that it would do that, but I do know now. So went and rewired the batteries, pulled 4-gauge wire through there. And so now we have 4-gauge wire running from the trolling motor batteries to here. And that's what Garmin suggested, was a 4-gauge wire for running it at 36 volt. This is a boat that had a 12 volt on it when it was originally made. And then I hooked up 24 volt, which was sufficient. But when we hooked to the 36 volt, and it run all that voltage through there, it got too hot. And in order to protect, because it was not getting enough power, it was getting hot, it kicked off, and it kicked the batteries off, and therefore they stopped working. I could have simply awoke them, but I didn't realize they were in sleep mode. And then when I got home, I did realize it because I took the positive and negative cable and tapped them. No spark. There was nothing going on. And then when I hooked the battery charger up, that's what ionic battery chargers do. They'll kick the battery out of sleep mode. So they went back to working, and then everything went back to working. But I had to go ahead and pull some new 4-gauge wire. Pulled it all the way from here all the way to back there, and which was not an easy chore because there's some crooks and nooks and crannies that things got to go through. But we got it pulled through, and we now have new wiring, and everything is ready to rock and roll. But that is something that if you're on the lake, you might want to carry a set of jumper cables or a jump starter. That'll work too. Just hook it to each battery, and it will awaken the batteries. And that was caused by my problem of not having big enough wiring. Being that I had run it on 24 volt, never had a problem. Didn't really believe that 36 volt would do that to it, but it did. But guys, that's a little something to know for you, a little Saturday tip, a little something about how to wake your batteries and what may cause some of the problems when you get on the water. I'm assuming this would happen with a Garmin Force, Lowrance Ghost, or Minn Kota Ultrex. So, but it had something to do with the batteries and the wiring. But guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Ring the